Hurvitz indicates that the best statement at the time of his writing regarding the issue of the one vehicle versus three was by Mr. Fujita Kotatsu in his Hokke Shiso, a book published by Hirakuji Shoten in Kyoto in 1969. This is what he says about Mr. Fujita's explanation. By the time of the appearance of the Lotus, the schools, the northern ones in particular, are firmly convinced that there are three paths to salvation, each characterized by its own unique doctrine. Once embarked on any of the three, so this theory went, the practitioner is committed to it alone and is unable to leave it for either of the other two. The Ikayana, or one-vehicle doctrine of the Lotus, was a reaction to this view of the threefold path. An interesting twist then takes place. The Shravaka, who imagines himself destined for arhatship, says to himself, "I cannot become a Buddha." In the Lotus, the Buddha says, "What he really means, Sariputra, is I need not become one. This is nothing but arrogance. They may think of themselves as Pratyeka Buddhas, Shravakas, even Arhats for that matter, but if this is their attitude, they are no disciples of mine, to say nothing of their being enlightened." Thus, Buddhayana, a word the Lotus has in common with the schools, means something quite different, for it is a course open or a vehicle available to Shravaka and Pratyeka Buddha as well. It is not only available to them, it is incumbent upon them, for there is no other road to salvation. Because the word means different things, one actually finds different words being used to represent it. Words such as the unique vehicle, the one vehicle, the unique Buddha vehicle, the great vehicle, the unique great vehicle, the Bodhisattva vehicle, etc. Since the imagined enlightenment of the Pratyeka Buddha and of the Arhat is in fact no enlightenment at all, the quest for it in ignorance of this fact is designated a lesser vehicle. The greater one is only the other, the one that aims at the deliverance of all living beings. The Buddha, still speaking to Shariputra, says, quote, "Again, there are others who, in their desire for all-knowing gnosis, for the Buddha's gnosis, for the gnosis which is so of itself, for the gnosis owed to no teacher, for the weal of many men, for the happiness of many men, out of compassion for the world, for the sake of the great body of men, for the weal and happiness of gods and humans, for the complete extinction or parinirvana of all living beings, and in order to enable them to understand the gnosis, the strengths and the confidences of the thus gone one, attach themselves to the thus gone one's teaching. Of them it is said that they run away from the triple sphere in their keen desire for the great vehicle. For that reason they are called enlightenment beings, great beings, bodhisattva mahasattvas. If there are beings who, having heard the Dharma from the world-honored one, believe and accept it, who, vigorously practicing and striving, seek all knowledge, Buddha knowledge, the knowledge which is so of itself, knowledge without a teacher, the knowledge and insight of the thus come one, his strengths and his various sorts of fearlessness, who, mercifully recalling and comforting incalculable living beings and benefiting gods and men, convey all to deliverance, these are named the great vehicle. It is because the bodhisattvas seek this vehicle that they are named mahasattvas." Close quote. The word bodhisattva antedates the Mahayana, to be sure. In early Buddhism, however, its use was confined to Gautama, his well-known predecessors, and Maitreya, while in the Lotus its use is extended to include all who seek enlightenment, which for that scripture is synonymous with Buddhahood. The number of bodhisattvas is, for the Lotus, potentially infinite. The very life of the Lotus hinges on one point, namely the statement that the one vehicle, it and nothing else, is the Buddha vehicle, the great vehicle, the bodhisattva vehicle, the unique vehicle. Mr. Fujita points to the traditional division among the Chinese who believe that the one vehicle and the Buddhayana of the three vehicles are the same, and those who hold that they are different. The resort is to the famous parable of the burning house, which occupies most of the third chapter of the Lotus. There, the Father, Buddha, lures his children, all living beings, out of the burning house, the round of births and deaths, by offering them a goat-drawn carriage, or Sravakayana, a deer-drawn carriage, a Pratyeka Buddhayana, and an ox-drawn carriage, a Bodhisattvayana. Once they are out of their house, he gives them a carriage drawn by a great white ox, or Buddhayana. Some of the Chinese said that the two ox carts are the same, that, in other words, there are only three carriages, while others maintained that they are all different, meaning to say that there are in all 4 carriages. Mr. Fujita holds that the text of the Lotus will support either interpretation. 3 passages are cited in which the Buddha says that the Buddhayana/Bodhisattvayana is the only real one, and that the Buddha's own mention of the other 2 elsewhere was no more than a device, or upaya. Yet it must be noted that the Lotus, when it speaks of this upaya, says that all 3, never the lower 2 alone, are a device. The solution to the problem of the apparent inconsistency, says Mr. Fujita, is in the doctrine of emptiness, which he says is eloquently expressed in the Lotus in the following passage, quote, "Like as a blind man who gains eyesight, just so is he to be viewed who is embarked on the course of the auditor or of the individually enlightened. He severs the defilements that bind him to continued existence. Freed from the bonds of the defilements, he is then released from the triple sphere with its 6 destinies. Thanks to this, the one embarked on the auditor's course has the following knowledge and utters the following speech. There are no more dharmas to be intuited. I have attained extinction. It is then that the thus gone one teaches him the Dharma, for he endows him with enlightened intuition with these words, if all dharmas are unattained, whence comes the extinction of them? Once the thought of enlightened intuition has arisen within him, he neither continues to exist nor attains extinction. With this understanding, he sees the world with its 3 spheres as being in all 10 directions empty, like a conjurer's trick, like an illusion, like a dream, a will-o'-the-wisp, an echo. He views all dharmas as being unarisen, unsuppressed, unbound, unreleased, not dark, not light. Whoever sees the profound dharmas in this way, he sees, by not seeing, the whole triple sphere filled with beings, each of whom feels an inclination for the abodes of all the others." Close quote. All the same, the Lotus's reference to emptiness, if laid end to end, would not amount to much. The Lotus's concern, after all, is much less with theory than with practice. The central issue is the one vehicle, the availability of Buddhahood to all living beings. The Lotus's message, so it alleges, was the Buddha's sole purpose in coming into the world. Thus, the resolution of the apparent contradiction between the 3 chariots and the 4, that is, the definition of the one vehicle, is to be sought in the doctrine of emptiness, but that, in turn, refers to the one vehicle. The question naturally arises, if the Buddha's career is not a matter of fact, why does he speak of it as if it were? If the 3 courses to salvation are not real, why does the Buddha dwell on them in such detail? The answer has already been suggested. It is a device employed for the purpose of rendering more acquiescent those beings who would be frightened away by the ultimate message baldly stated. In the former case, the Buddha thinks, if these fellows have the notion that I am always going to be around anyway, they may dawdle over their religious practice. If, on the other hand, they imagine, albeit falsely, that I am soon to be extinguished in nirvana, the likelihood is that they will have a sense of urgency. In the latter case, the Shravaka goes the full course to arhatship, only to say to himself, Why, this is not real. He then proceeds to Buddhahood, which is real.